Welcome to our session on open educational resources. My name is Szymon Machajewski, and I work for Grand Rapids Community College as an associate professor teaching computer science courses, anything from programming through databases, information security, mobile development. And in this session, I wanted to talk to you about really a revolution that's taking place in education in terms of free or open educational resources. You can see we have a little Twitter back channel going on. I'll once in a while refer back to it. Maybe we can ask some questions through that. I also tweeted earlier a URL to our content of the presentation. Let's see, it's going to be somewhere here. Well, the URL to the resource for the session is tinyurl/ETOM2012. So this is going to be a shortcut if you do not like paper. If you have a mobile device, you can go ahead and download the PDF, the session slides, and so forth from this URL. Incidentally, this URL points to a connection system, which is all about open educational resources. So we'll go through that system and see how these resources are created. Well, let's go ahead and get started. Open educational resources. How many of you have already heard about OER? Okay, great. And how many of you have actually used in your courses OER? Okay, great. So my next question will be, how many of you have created OER and published them? But obviously, this is why a lot of you are here. So first of all, I used the word free when describing these resources. And if we look deep down at common sense, there are a few things that we know about free. There's no such thing as free lunch. Or Linux is free, but not as in free beer. And actually, in this session, I'll talk quite a bit about how free or open source software was created, because open educational resources sort of follow that path. And then the whole idea of a free kitten. Really, what is free? You may know of the salesman's technique where on Friday, I give you a free kitten to take home. I'm not going to sell it to you right away. I'll just give it to you. You go ahead and take it home, show it to your kids, see if it fits in, give it a name. And then on Monday, I'll tell you how much it costs, right? And then you might find out over time what the maintenance fees are. And so this is one of the lessons that we have learned with software that was called free or open source, that in fact, over some length of using the software, there are investments that have to be made. And there's price that we pay for using it. So we'll try to balance out some of this idea of free. And let me start by saying that in software, there was a few individuals who started this whole movement of openness. And originally, this was called free software. There was Free Software Foundation. And at some point, they had to change that because free software was scaring businesses, was scaring people who actually were trying to make money on computer science. So they went from free to open. Now that it's called open source software, then it was more likely to attract businesses. And so this was a similar discussion with educational resources. We don't want to call them free because, in fact, this openness has to do with availability, with freedom of access. This is why, for example, some Linux systems today cost, like Red Hat Linux, for example, it might cost $2,000 a year to own a single license. So it is not free by any means, but it's open as in available, as in the level of customization that you can get. In software specifically, it has to do with access to something called open source, or the source of the software, where you can edit the software by yourself. So let's see what we can do today in terms of making these subjects a little bit more familiar. A definition for OER: it's digitized materials offered freely and openly for educators, students, and self-learners to use and reuse for teaching, learning, and research. So again, the English language has the word free, and unfortunately it means both freedom and it means free of cost. And so this is where we specifically mean something open and something that is available. So in terms of having materials, how many of you would be comfortable using someone else's materials? Okay. So a lot of people are comfortable maybe showing YouTube videos in the classroom or maybe linking them to online courses. And these materials have certain advantages and disadvantages. We'll talk about them. Right away, I want to go to another definition, one that is published by the William and Flora Hewlett Foundation, which was really instrumental to making OER popular. OER really started with UNESCO defining OER, and the idea is to bring education to a global community. I'm involved with an organization called University of the People, and this is at this point a non-accredited university. They recently secured a grant from Melinda and Bill Gates Foundation. But basically, their goal is to deliver courses over cell phones, text-based courses that can be consumed globally. You do not pay for taking these courses. And so what they find is that people worldwide sign up, they complete courses, and they complete degrees. And so they're working on this accreditation element. But this is where we're talking about global education. So here is a list. This is a shortened list. Out there, if you were to perhaps use a search engine and use OER, you'll find a lot of repositories, which is one of the disadvantages of OER, that they're here today and perhaps tomorrow they're not. Some of the repositories on this list are fairly stable. Khan Academy, for example, is a great repository of tutorials that were recorded not by a teacher by trade. Salman Khan actually worked for the financing industry, and he was tutoring his cousins. Because YouTube only allowed 5-minute videos at the time, his videos are 5 minutes long, which happens to be the kind of a time attention span for most people anyway. So his videos became very, very popular. Google, as well as Bill Gates, have gotten behind that, so he has more funding now. There are entire K-12 systems that are going with Khan Academy videos, where students are watching those videos at home. So the lectures are taking place at home, and then they come to school to do homework. So they have more of this one-on-one touch with the faculty, with the teachers. This, of course, would have great application in homeschooling. It helps the parents to review what was maybe some algebra issues or math that they just don't remember. But now they can review that and actually help their kids with homework. So multiple uses. Some of the other important systems would be the connection system published by Rice University. And the connection system is special because not only does it index content that's available perhaps throughout the internet. There are many of these indexing services, and the problem is that there might be a link, but then the content is no longer available. So what Connections does is it actually creates a repository where you store your content inside of Connections. So it really becomes like a global LMS. You might already have Moodle or you might have Blackboard, and they have certain standards like SCORM and others where you're supposed to be able to export your content and make it pluggable to other systems. But think about maybe a central learning management system where we can store content and just link to it. Therefore, we always have the most updated version of it. Some of the issues of availability might be worked out. For example, right now in Connections, you can access their mobile website. Whenever you create a lesson, you can download it in PDF or in EPUB. All of that is done for you automatically. And as technology moves on, so we're hoping that they will be better at catching up than we will be on our own. So a number of organizations that are looking at OER. At this point, I want to mention an an interesting competition that took place not too far back. This particular competition was sponsored by Creative Commons and Department of Education. The title was Why Open Ed Matters. So why open educational resources matter. And what I wanted to do is just show you introduction to this competition, because this introduction is actually narrated by the government. So let's see if I can get my presentation back to that point. So it's supposed to work perfectly. I'm going to see if I can find my presentation here. That's okay. We'll go ahead and go the old way about that.
Prezi.com, is that a teaching tool you use? Is that something you would have us play with for face-to-face classes?
So, yes, so Prezi.com happens to be a tool which can replace PowerPoint. The idea is that it has quality that's introspective, so you can go from one idea, then emerge into another idea. And it is based online, so basically you can have your presentations out there. You can also download them as PDF. So let's go ahead and listen to this particular video, which shows really the support of the government behind OER. Oh, you know what? One more thing I didn't do is, yeah, there's a sound somewhere here.
Hi, I'm Secretary of Education, Arnie Young. Welcome to the Why Open Education Matters website. Expanded and smarter use of technology is an important part of how we plan to meet President Obama's goal that by 2020, the United States will once again have the best educated, most competitive workforce in the world. Fortunately, we have an unprecedented opportunity today to use technology in smart new ways to help make that goal a reality. Under the Learning Powered by Technology plan, we want to dramatically expand the role that open educational resources play in improving the quality of both teaching and learning. Open educational resources, or what we call OER for short, can not only accelerate and enrich learning, they can also substantially reduce costs for schools, families, and students. What are OER resources? They are materials that have been released with an intellectual property license that allows their free use, continuous improvement, modification, and repurposing by others. Some of the best of these resources come directly from institutions you know and respect, like MIT, Tufts, Yale, and the University of California. Others come from some of our nation's best community colleges, or from innovative entrepreneurs like Saul Khan, whose online Khan Academy now features more than 2,700 videos used freely by tens of millions of students from around the world. What does this mean for America? It means that in the future, what a student gets a chance to learn will no longer depend necessarily on their zip code or where he or she goes to school in college. Instead, OER can help us bring the best K-12 teachers and college professors and the most cutting-edge courses and teaching methods within the reach of every single motivated student. And that's where you come in. Despite the promise of this new approach, not enough people know about open educational resources and their tremendous transformational promise. Our administration is investing up to $2 billion through the Department of Labor to create state-of-the-art courses and programs to help both students and dislocated workers qualify for good jobs in growing industries that pay family-sustaining wages. And all of these educational resources created with public funds will be openly licensed. They'll be open educational resources. Yet, too many teachers, students, college professors, political leaders, and members of the public still don't know about the value of OER. We have to change that basic understanding. We want as many Americans as possible to benefit from the universal access to high-quality educational opportunities that technology-powered OER has placed within our grasp. And we need your help to spread that message. So please join us by participating in this innovative competition. Read the instructions on our website. Use your creative talents to make a short video. Explain what open educational resources are and why faculty and students are excited about them. Explain how schools and colleges can develop, use, and continuously improve these resources in ways that will open new pathways of opportunity for literally millions of Americans. I learned long ago that Washington, D.C. does not have all the answers. The truth is that the people in Washington sometimes don't even ask the right questions. The most rapid progress and the best ideas so often come from outside of Washington. They come from you. That is why we're having this prize contest. And that is why I'm hoping that you will participate. I can't wait to see what you come up with. Thank you so much, and I wish you all the best of luck.
So this was a competition for a 3-minute video, and I actually submitted a video. I did not win. I don't hold a grudge, but I would have tweeted more if I did win. In a minute, I'll show you the video that won. It's just a 3-minute thing. But really, some of the points that are driving OER have to do with quality of education. The hope is that we can use resources that have been authored or maybe videos that were recorded that have high quality. Let me give you an example. And sorry about that. Here's an example of why perhaps OER is fairly important. I just looked at my YouTube channel. This is a lecture that I uploaded. It's about Hamming code. Richard Hamming, he in computer science, was really a leader in error correction. So I recorded this lecture, and I don't know if you can read it, but there's a comment from a student. It says, very well explained, the Hamming code in Bakrust Frozen must be a textbook, is different, and we have been taught from that book. Please help me out. Our lecturer sucks. Right? So there are students who at some point actually realize that perhaps between the textbook and what they're learning, it's just not working out. And so how can they then turn towards resources that will help to explain the subject matter and help them to succeed? So that's where the open education and open educational resources point to. I should say right away that open education is actually a little bit different. If you were to look at the definition of open education, it's about leveling the playing field of access to education. It has nothing to do with cost. Well, we like this open expression so much that we add it to every other word that we can. So open educational resources and open education will often repeat.
Around the world. Take Tando, for example. He's a bright kid with big dreams, but the education he's getting is holding him back. You see, Tando's school can't afford the latest learning materials, so he has to work with textbooks that are completely outdated. To make matters worse, Tando's teacher is also left using outdated information, often without even realizing it. And even if he manages to overcome this and gets into college, the cost of all the lessons, books, and notes he needs will land Tando in a pile of debt. It's not just Tando. This situation is being replayed in schools and colleges all around the world. So much for education for all. So how can we fix things? The answer lies in open education. Open education is a global movement that aims to bring quality education to teachers and students everywhere. The basic idea is to put top-notch learning materials on the web that anyone can access for free. You see, unlike textbooks, open ed resources can always be revised, so they're never out of date. Teachers are given free license to adapt them and improve them, giving students exactly what they need to achieve their dreams. As all open ed resources are free to share, schools are no longer limited by where they are or how much money they have. And if you think open education doesn't make the grade, think again. Open Ed resources are being created by the world's most respected institutions and scholars. And the Obama administration is set to invest up to $2 billion in Open Ed in the next 4 years alone. From the highest branches of government right down to grassroots level, open education is changing lives. Visit creativecommons.org/education to learn more.
So this was the winning video, and it was created by a team in Cape Town, Africa. So we can see how this is really globally driven, and when we contribute to these repositories, we can make a significant impact. All right, here's another resource I wanted to share for community colleges specifically. Because OER is such a hot idea right now, this particular organization provides a quick start guide which helps to implement OER at a community college level. So these are specifically resources for a community college. So why OER? Some of the reasons given on this slide really go to the core of why people would even contribute, not just why they would use it. Some of the reasons why open source software is written, Linux, Apache, and other Firefox, other software, has to do with motivating programmers to do that. And reputation is part of it, being able to build portfolio and so forth. So similar motivators might apply in education. So for authors, open publication grants access to the widest possible audience. Studies show that their articles are cited more frequently. So there is a benefit for someone maybe to waive some of the copyright rights and to allow licenses that are more flexible in order to be cited more often. For readers, of course, open access grants access to the entire body of literature. For publishers, open access guarantees the widest dissemination of the articles they publish. File sharing may actually increase the market for their commercial products. I think this is very important, and in a minute I'll ask you to contribute. What are some of the business models that can be designed behind OER? There are business models behind open source. I've mentioned that you pay $2,000 a year for Red Hat. Basically, instead of charging for licenses, what software companies are doing is they're creating services around, maybe support, customization, around software. So what business models can we design around open education? Without these business models, it'll not be sustainable. So we'll see what some of the brainstorming on that is. Then funders obtain the highest impact for their investment. Universities obtain increased visibility for their scholarship. Funding is, of course, beneficial to OER, but in a way, it's a crutch that may go away, and then some of these projects go away as well. So it is not a sustainable business model to create these repositories and run them just based on grants and the kind of one-time funding. So we need other business models. So what I'd like you to perhaps take a look at momentarily is on the handout that I shared with you. And this is taken from the OLCOS roadmap, which is a publication coming to us from Austria on OER. If you could just read through the 3 paragraphs, the European Digital Library as a flagship venture, and then perhaps discuss it with your neighbor and see if you can find business models that might help to promote open educational resources and to create them. See if we can do that for the next 10 minutes or so. Very good. Well, thank you for your comments. What do you think are then the benefits of OER? If you were to come up with a short list, what do you think would be the benefits? Please.
In some ways, it's getting the best from the best.
Yes.
Almost like an encyclopedia.
So everybody learns. The teachers learn, and the learners learn as
How
well.
do you know you're getting the best, though? I could publish, hey, it's free, and I don't know anything about it. You know,
Right.
Cut-
Well, how would you then keep the quality of open and educational resources up to par?
Well, the thing is that if it's open, it can be peer reviewed and everything.
Peer review, yeah. Yeah, so peer review is one of the strategies for OER where other faculty or maybe organizations that are created around these sites are going to review.
Just so I can tell you,
Yeah.
times when I have to point out mistakes in the text. I mean, text is sitting on the desk in the hard copy.
For the
Correct.
YouTube, thumbs up, thumbs down. I mean, you can go learn how to play
Mhm.
a song on the guitar, for instance, or mandolin, or pick an instrument on a YouTube video. Someone
Sure.
took the time to make it. Some of them are very professional. Some of them,
Mhm.
they're not making any money on it. But you give it a thumbs up because that guy, that was good. Pretty soon they're
Yeah.
up there and they got 3 million hits.
Yeah.
And then maybe, I don't know, are they making money on it?
There is a way to make money on your YouTube videos by connecting advertising to the videos. So there are business models right around.
Banner ad that goes across.
So
Yeah,
some of those some advertising does drive quality as well, because then you will have more people viewing it, you will earn more money.
So if you're an interesting history professor, you can put out a YouTube video. Kids can learn more from you than from the guy who's less talented in their classroom, and you can make a passive income from people clicking on your
Correct.
video. So
Correct. So there's a reason. So there's a reason to create these resources. Excellent. Yeah. And this is what we have to take back to our organizations and advertise to faculty, because they will then drive this effort. Please.
Another thing that I was going to mention, though, in line with that, is like one of the chemistry teachers that we have at JCC. He's published a lot of videos on YouTube and everything, and just like you, he's gotten a lot of compliments from people saying thanks. This was really helpful and everything. He's actually been invited to speak at a few conferences and things as well. So,
good career.
so yeah.
Exactly. So those are some of the reasons why open source software started, because programmers were locked up in the basement, writing code, suddenly were able to shine when they published some of their projects to repositories. So here we have a few benefits. It fosters pedagogical innovation and relevance that avoids teaching from the textbook. OER today is really often placed in opposition to textbooks. Faculty more and more are interested in lowering the costs to the student by perhaps getting textbook out of the picture and replacing with OER. I would say that there's more to OER than just fighting the textbooks. Then it broadens use of alternatives to textbooks while maintaining instructional quality, lowers costs of course materials for students, provides opportunities to share and remix learning materials for customized and localized use, fast feedback loop leading to continual improvement and rapid development, so that peer revision as well as feedback from a greater spectrum of students, because more people would consume that content. So looking at these benefits, do you think that there are any negatives, any downside to OER? Can you think of something that perhaps would be a wrench in the works? Please.
Well, I mean, it's possible for, I guess it would be possible for some people to troll, some materials and everything. I just read something about a peer-reviewed mathematics article that was basically just gibberish, threw in a bunch of, and it was like published and everything, and the guy pointed out and stuff, So, I mean, what's to stop someone from, creating the world really is flat type of thing,
Okay, so there's still a need for the person who is including the OER in their course to validate that this really is useful, but then the quality, I think, is what you're saying. The quality of OER may be questionable because it's coming from somewhere outside of our immediate control. And so, yes, the quality is always a concern. Any other concerns you can think of? Please.
Well, as much as we may want to fight the high cost of textbooks, the publishers are actually contributing a lot to us, and they are giving us a lot of OER material as well. So we don't want to be too much eliminating them.
Okay, so they're partners with faculty who have resources who can support faculty at times when Maybe you are using OER and now this website went down and it's not available, it's the middle of your course. Who's going to support you, right? Any other anti-positives that you can think of? Okay, well, let me show you a list that I collected from the OER consortium. Whoops. My computer is rebelling against me here. So here's a list of disadvantages that I collected. The quality, ADA compliance. I think ADA compliance in general is a challenge online, also in the classroom. Now we're inviting resources from anyone. Well, what about compliance there? There's no common standard for review of OER accuracy and quality. Thumbs up on YouTube, thumbs down. What does that really mean? There is a need to check accuracy. That's what you've mentioned. The customization is necessary to match departmental and college curriculum requirements. What that means is that you might be collecting bits and pieces from everywhere, and then you might be spending a lot of time actually putting it into some cohesive piece of study. Technical requirements to access vary. So what if this content is best consumed in Internet Explorer 6, right? That might be a requirement set by the creator. And then the last one, technological determinism created by the delivery tools. The reason why this is a negative is because once we start using OER, we tie ourselves to technology, and technology suddenly determines the course of the work and what the students must do. So we went over some benefits, some disadvantages. Let's look at more detail on how this actually would work for us. I want to show you this screenshot. This happens to be my course on Udemy.com, which is another website that does these massive courses. But this website actually has an interesting business model. It allows me to put a price per student on the course. I have it free because, as I make a note here, preview this course at Udemy.com and then take it online for college credit with GRCC. Okay, so I can publish this content and have students take a look at it. And I think that in this particular mobile development class, if the student already goes through these resources initially, they will be actually an A student by the time they take it for credit. So, and then my course most likely is going to have more content with it. So this is one of the business models that can be used.
Does that work?
Yes.
Can it drive students to taking the actual course?
I have about 130 students in the Udemy course, and this is the first semester that we actually are offering the course at GRCC. We had 15 students register for the GRCC course. 2 weeks before the start of classes, we only had 2 students registered. So I was contacted by our administrative resources there, and I was told that probably it will be canceled. So I started tweeting, and I have contact with my previous students through Twitter. And we were able to, in 2 weeks, we were able to get about 15 students in the course, which, basically gave me this idea that I have to advertise this course, or it's not going to run.
What was the URL for that?
Say it again?
So what was the URL for your site?
If you go to udemy.com and then search for mobile, my course should show up. Although yesterday I contacted Udemy because their search actually did not work well. So this is the URL, and the initial URL that I posted will have a PDF of this presentation, so you can take it from there. So now let's talk about the big challenge, and that is the law. Okay, and in the past, when the doors were closed to a classroom, okay, a lot of stuff could be done without lawyers getting involved. Well, now that it's all open, Gary's frowning. Now that it's all open, there are some real issues. What if the content that's published by someone else as OER is actually copyrighted by someone else, right? Or what if I now mixed content and I now intend to publish it as OER? All of these are very, very difficult things to do legally. So here is just a quick sample of what clipart library is. Open clipart library is actually a website. And they're saying that everything on their website is in public domain. Okay, now that's easy because you cannot submit clipart to this open clipart website unless you're okay with giving up your copyright rights. So then I can do anything with it. I can remix it, I can sell it. That's great. But from public domain, going forward, there's a spectrum of options. On the other side of that spectrum would be a trade secret. Okay? And perhaps closer to the trade secret, we would have the proprietary licenses that go with textbooks and other releases. Well, in the U.S. law, the moment you create work, artistic work or otherwise, you own copyright. You don't even have to post the little C. You don't have to pay the fee to go ahead and register it. You own copyright automatically. Because of that, there are restrictions on any work that's published. Those restrictions are in the area of copying, in the area of modifying, and then distribution, which is very important to us when we're collecting open educational resources. So let me give you another example here of a website. And this website, Gnome Art, comes from the open source side of the house. This basically are background images and themes for the Linux system that are published. And notice the various licenses. CC by SA, this one is in public domain. At some point, we have to understand what these mean if we want to participate in the open educational resources. And the one website that helps us to understand it and actually publish our resources is the Creative Commons. So I will go ahead and navigate to this website. Creative Commons is a project which explains licensing and helps us to build our own licenses according to what our intention is for the work. They have a wizard that can basically create the license for us, and we just answer a few questions. Will you allow someone to make money on the work that you're publishing? Will you allow someone to modify it and copy it? And then after you're done with the wizard, your license pops out. You will see these images, these icons, at the bottom of many of the OERs. And these images right away tell you what you can or what you cannot do with the work. Of course, there are many choices. The simplest one is where you do not put your work in public domain, but you choose to retain the copyright, the basic copyright that says, I made it, and if you're going to use it, make sure that you use my name, that you do the attribution. But this means that someone could go ahead and sell my work, they can modify it, they can redistribute it. That's the most flexible approach. The most popular, and by popular I mean the search engines, when they look at these licenses and they index them, the most popular one is the one that does not allow commercial use. For some reason in education, people who create open educational resources are very much against commercial world actually using those to make money. Okay? And there are multiple issues with that. What does it mean to make money? The schools that are for-profit, they cannot use it. So what we see in the industry now is actually movement back to this basic license. In fact, later on, I'll show you the Connections website, which requires that you publish your content with this basic license where you will allow the distribution, the modification, and the commercial use of your work. Okay. Let me I'll go back for another URL here. This URL here is going to give us a website that was actually developed in Taiwan, which helps us to see how we might be allowed to mix content. So right now I selected a license where I keep my copyright, but I would like to have the attribution. Someone can take my, let's say, image that I posted with a license, and they can then release their own work with the other licenses. Now, the obvious one would be public domain. When I check public domain, okay, you can do then any other license on top of that. But as we select the remaining licenses, what we see as a pattern, okay, is that these licenses really don't agree with one another. And once the work is published under any of these other Creative Commons licenses, it might be very difficult to actually make it more available. So the legal issues continue to be there, and we have to be very careful how we republish these OER systems. Okay, so this is now the website that I wanted to spend a little bit of time on, connections, and this is an effort by multiple schools, multiple consortiums, and it is successful because it is a repository of its own. It uses XML, which basically separates the data from the presentation. For us, what that means is that you have to re-enter your resources. You might already have a Word document, 5 pages of text. You're going to have to take each paragraph and re-enter it so that that data can be separated from the presentation. Now, the benefit is that your data then becomes very pluggable, and we can publish an iPad version of it. We can publish a mobile app, a PDF, and then people can reuse certain parts of it. Let's quickly take a look at this particular website. What I found when I'm using this website is that at times it is not as quick as I wish. But then again, if you maybe consider performance of your own LMS, even smaller schools struggle with performance. So here's a global LMS. I go ahead and log in. I'm already logged in. This particular system operates on different types of resources. The basic one is a module. So a module could be maybe a chapter of a book, okay, or a lesson. And then a collection would be a course, for example, okay. Finally, a lens is a way to gather modules and collections and become responsible for them. That's that peer review piece. So you might have your college's lens where anytime someone modifies a module that you are looking at is under your lens, you get an email to go ahead and make sure to review it and make sure that it's in order. So the more lenses there are, the higher the quality. So let's go ahead and create a new module. And as that happens, notice here this licensing agreement. It requires that all content submitted to a repository would allow others to use, distribute, and create their works based on the content. And let's see, and it points us to this Creative Commons attribution license. Now, what it doesn't explain is that it actually does allow the commercial use of the content as well. Maybe that would have scared people. What I find interesting is that when I go to Creative Commons, I have all these choices for licenses, right? When I actually start creating content, I have choices of one license, right? And that's because it's so difficult to marry content later on once it's released under different licenses. So there's this, we're asked to have commitment to this very open license that might benefit financially others. So I go ahead and say yes, create. And at this point, I am operating inside of the edit side of connections. So you can check out content, you can modify it. Later you have to publish for someone to actually be able to see it. So it's nice because you can try things out, you can develop, and only once you publish will anyone see this. Okay, so here I'll go ahead and create content called test. I'll say next. I want to show you how this content is actually put together, because what we see with OER is that not only does it require the subject matter, but it will require some technical skills to both implement it in your course. Now, with YouTube, it's as easy as clicking the embed button and copying and pasting. Okay, but with some of the more advanced repositories, there's just a little bit more involved. Again, I was prepared that the performance of the system is not going to break any records at this point. But I did create the notes for this session inside of CNX, so you can see that. Okay, so this is the blank module, and for me to create something inside, I have to say insert, and let's say that we are going to go ahead and create an exercise. You can see that right away this is not the easiest interface you've ever seen. Okay, so there are some tags that I have to look at. Right here, I could ask the question, what is 2 plus 2? And I can give the answer right here, and then click Save. The reason why we have to do that is because the content, again, is being separated from everything that has to do with the display. When you create a Word document, you bold some areas, you make other areas pretty, and so we have to be able to separate the data itself from the design of it. Okay, so now we have this module, and I can go ahead and preview it. We'll go ahead and go to online preview. Okay, so now this is what the student would see. Here's an exercise. I can go ahead then and click Show Solution, and then the solution comes up. So you can see that this system is going to automate things. Once they are there, once we've gone through this period of authoring the OER, they do add value. They add value by now a student being able to export this into a mobile device or into PDF and then work with it. Okay, any questions about the Connections website? I encourage you to go ahead and visit it and then just search. There's a search box that you can search for your subject matter. Yes?
This is a little deeper than where I'm waiting right now. I'm trying to create a Blackboard, case. Once I get my Blackboard shell created, is it easy to dump it out to here, or are you highlighting places in code and dropping things in? Is there an interface between Blackboard? Say I created awesome Blackboard, course. Say, yeah, I'll throw it out here so that others can use it to, help the world. Is there an easy way to do that, or is it clicking through a slow interface with clunky code? I mean, no offense, but I'm struggling with the clunky thing the university gave me, and I'm saying someday maybe I'll dump it out here.
I would say that this is a process where first you need to be very comfortable with consuming OER. So the easiest thing for you would be to go to Blackboard, create item, and then create a URL, a link, or maybe you would create a menu item that takes you to a prepared module. So then the students can use it, and you are benefiting from OER. When you are comfortable with authoring tools, and even inside of Blackboard you'll find that some modules are easier to create than others, then go ahead and start authoring the OER systems. But I agree with you that the fact that universities are using various LMSs, and these LMSs are oftentimes competing against each other, it does not promote sharing. So I would say that the first step is to learn how to search for the OER, include them in your course. Only after that, go ahead and give it a try as far as generating. But generation of OER can be as easy as creating a YouTube video, right? Just when you read earlier about Google's project to digitize books, if it wasn't for YouTube, the networked video would be not where it is today. So YouTube for us becomes the kind of LMS distribution source for video. So, that is an easy way of actually creating some meaningful OERs. I want to show this because this is actually where you can divide a lesson into small portions and then really build out of smaller blocks.
Why hasn't there been Facebook University yet, in the sense that you've got all the other top drawer distribution systems, YouTube, Facebook, Gmail, pick any free online user-friendly, really universal around the world, are created by universities, not governments, or why hasn't someone saw this and said, you know what, if we could sell Facebook U to all the universities, because Blackboard is old and clunky, and we could put ads on the side selling sneakers and Gatorade or whatever, but why isn't there a better OER commercially, get a capitalist to do this, and it would be a lot easier. The content would.
I think it goes back to our.
And I'm getting paid for
my
video on there.
I think it goes back to our original question: can there be a business model around it? The moment there's a business model, someone will come up with a solution that feels like it basically is asking us questions and it's fluid. Right now, FERPA is a good reason. Why not to?
Spend on university education. That's what I'm saying. There's a business model in the sense that you spend $10,000 to $100,000 to get a college degree,
right?
Depending on how you go about it. That money's waiting out there for a capitalist to go against the brick and mortar delivery system. I mean, that's to me.
Yeah, and I would say that you've made some expression about Blackboard. The most recent versions of Blackboard are actually quite similar to the new versions of Facebook and other systems, but the local organization is in charge of these LMSs, so they decided when they're upgraded. There are good reasons why organizations do that. There's FERPA data that they have. There's other security issues, and then there are faculty who need to be trained on it. You can't train everyone on Facebook and all the other systems at the same time.
You must have missed YouTube training.
Hey, Simon,
yes, please.
Go home and do a search quick to see just how easy it is to access.
Oh, sure. Anything.
Click on content or search for type in Porter's 5 courses. Porters.
Say it again.
Porter's 5 courses. Go ahead and take a second. It's better than the hypothesis testing example or something like that.
Thank you.
And then if it gives you all of this open source OER,
right.
Click on that first one, for example.
Mm-hmm.
And you can see it's got a lot of information in terms of how it was edited, where it came from, et cetera, et cetera. So I just want to
I appreciate it. And
into looking at building modules, but as a resource.
And if it is slow, then again, its license allows you to export the PDF and import it into your LMS. So, so there are options with it. Well, thank you very much for the time. I hope that as you go back to the schools that you can advocate the OER ideas. And if you have any questions, feel free to contact me. The URL I shared with you on these handouts will take you back to the presentation and all the other pointers. Thank you.